Congressman Pat Fallon, the Texas Republican congressman, sits on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, very nice of you to take the time. This whole issue with cyber attacks, I would imagine, becomes heightened now in this environment. We know Russia can pull them off. We know a lot of Russian entities have no trouble pulling them off. So I would think that's a legitimate threat.
Oh, Neil, thanks for having me on. There's no doubt, and that's something that I've been worrying about for the last few months. We saw what happened when the cyber attacks hit JBS and then the Colonial Pipeline. I mean, the Colonial Pipeline was responsible for providing energy to 50 million Americans. So it's something that we have to be on almost pretty much at DEFCON 1 right now, because if we do pull Russia off the SWIFT, as you were talking about before, then I think that Putin, just knowing how he reacts and his, and his ego and his narcissism, I think he'll order an attack, and we better be ready for it.
What do you make of the thinking of Vladimir Putin getting beyond these cyber attack threats? The fact that, I know that Russian people get very little news, Congressman, but I'm sure, there are videos that come back to them that show dead Russian soldiers, as there were with the old Soviet Union and its ill-gotten venture into Afghanistan. That won't fly well, and I'm just wondering how you think he's conducting this, or that these so-called targeted strikes, it seems to be as much limiting Russian deaths as Ukrainian deaths. But what do you make of it?
No, Neil, he seems to be employing a force protection strategy for sure. I mean, we have to remember Afghanistan, and the Russians weren't 10 feet tall, and it was proven. Now, this is a very different situation. But Putin, just last year, he was asked, are the Ukrainians and Russians brothers? And his answer was very revealing. It was very telling. He said, we're not brothers. We're not siblings. We share the same soul. So he's always seen the Ukraine as part of his sphere of influence. But unfortunately for him, 70% of the Ukrainians don't want to be in the Russian sphere of influence. And hence the current crisis that we have right now. We need to act strongly. This is an affront to world peace. It's a threat. He's a bully, and he has a delusional fantasy, and we cannot let him succeed here like we did in 2008 in Georgia and 2014 in the Ukraine, or rather in the Crimea.
But what if he does? I mean, it just seems a matter of time, at least given just the overwhelming advantages that Russia has, that he'll take over Ukraine. Then what? Do you fear that he looks at Poland? Do you fear that he addresses some of these other breakaway republics? But think of it as well with Belarus, those 30,000 soldiers, they're not going anywhere. So he already has his feet in some rather disparate countries.
No, Neil, there's no doubt that he can win militarily with the Ukraine, but then what's next? You have a country of 40 million plus people, and if they resist, then if he has to truly occupy the country, he might need 350,000 troops. That's just like a third of his military. And that's going to be problematic for him, and the world will be watching. And yes, of course, we're worried about Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland. They're NATO countries, and we do have the Article 5 provision, of course, which is an attack on one is an attack on all. I think that's why we aren't seeing 150,000 troops poised to invade those countries right now. But I think we should make our Eastern European bases permanent to show him that that is off the table 100%, because you're talking about a hot war with the United States.
It's very well put, Congressman. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate that. Texas Republican Congressman Pat Fallon.